He puts out the back. Roberts gets back. Hippie up. Drops it. It'll work. It was off the back of Archie's boot goal. Fort got a hand on it. Bailey at the back. He's clean-handed and nails it. Zorko. He shakes. He kicks. Can he go? The inspirational Great Dane. Morris. So Zorko he played on to goal. Why wouldn't you? He's got some craft. But the Lions have done it to them again. Siren sounds. No premiership hangover here.
The Brisbane Lions Fancast is back after round one, the grand final rematch against Sydney. A tough win, an ugly win, a mature win, a resilient win, but it has certainly come at a cost. Our thoughts over the off-season were, how is this forward line going to function without Joe? Well, for periods on Saturday, it looked like it was going to try and function without Charlie Kai. And for a brief moment, Logan Morris was a bit of an injury scare as well. So, look, like I said, it's come at a cost. And the big one being Brandon Starcevich, which we'll spend a bit of time talking about later on in the show. It is JB and Patrick back for another week, thanks to Hop On Brewery Tours and Crisp Communications, the Brisbane Lions Fancast. We got a full AFL game to talk about that involves our Brisbane Lions. Patrick, how did you see it?
Well, it's good to have footy back, wasn't it?
Yes.
Like, good to have a game. Look, there was a lot of fun had on Thursday night, I got to say. Let's before we get to our game. Thursday night was a lot of fun. And I thought probably during the second half I was ruining the opening round as much as anybody, thinking that Sydney are playing significantly better than they were last week.
Yep. And
certain players that I'd been heavily critical of were having great games. James Jordan. And yeah, I didn't think we were going to win. But I also didn't really mind because it was sort of like, well, we're playing Sydney away.
Yep.
It's put it this way, glad we didn't play Geelong.
Yeah, I think my main takeaway from this game, aside from the win, was if you had have said to someone, hey, these two teams played in the grand final last year, they probably wouldn't have believed you. It wasn't exactly a great game of footy from either side. Sydney really left the door open for us, and we took our opportunities when we could. We still sprayed a fair amount, and our first quarter was as rusty footy as I've seen in a while, and obviously we built into the game and got better as it wore on and, pinched the win in the end, but it wasn't exactly a high class of skill or football across the whole game, was it?
No, there were flashes, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of people might have thought that Fags might have been a bit generous with his assessment of the game, but I think that is a sneaky, bloody, awesome win to have to start the season. Because Sydney, they're a bit annoying, I got to say. They've got some annoying players that I like seeing unhappy.
Sure.
When they don't win. To be honest, like to have Cameron go out, Day go out for personal reasons, and then Lohman, as you said, Morris looked like he was. That looked like a bit of a scrimshaw the night before.
Yeah,
and good, then Starcevich in the fourth quarter, particularly when we were trying to hang on and deal with their smalls, was it was a gutsy win, and it showed a lot for the team. And I think they'll be really good for the run, obviously, given the relative lack of training and particularly the lack of match hardness. So all in all, it's kind of, to me, it's 4 bonus points. It's 4 points that we probably shouldn't have got. Had we played last week against Geelong, maybe we would have been in better shape for this game and we would have rolled them. But that's not the way it was, and we kind of got away with one, and I'm all for that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been a nice break compared to the last few years where we have started very slowly and quite often dropped our first game. So to get a win straight off the bounce is pretty good. All right, let's go back to the start. Let's talk about the team selection. And we did basically have it. Levi did make the team. Original plans as the sub. and from all accounts, Sam Day was going to take that sort of forward ruck role. When the team came out and Darcy Fort was still named, I was like, oh, okay, bad luck to be Sam Day. You know, Darcy Fort's barely had a preseason and he's just, you know, stepped right in front of you. And then it's come out that obviously the tragic passing of Sam Day's father meant he didn't put his hand up for selection, which is fair enough, understandable. So I would imagine depends on where his head's at, and you know, I'm sure he's got a funeral to organise and all that sort of stuff. He would be in the mix for this game up against the West Coast, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. As it was, Connor McKenna did come in as the sub, and he was activated fairly early once Kai went down because Charlie Cameron, a late withdrawal with a bit of calf tightness.
Yeah, the Charlie Cameron one was a bit a bit out of left field, but you can understand it when you're kind of the other side of 30. The calves sort of tend to play up a little bit. There was I got to say, there was a lot of no one likes debuting a fella as a sub. No one likes it. It's largely, maligned within the footy community. But the vitriol that was kind of leveled at the coaching group, I thought was excessive by certain communities, Lions communities. It was pretty poor form to have a draftee, albeit a good one, trying to break into a premiership side and saying that it was disgusting that he was named as a sub. I think it's just it's absolutely ridiculous. It's baffling level of criticism of a coach and a coaching group that just literally won the premiership. Yeah. So, people in the know will know the people that I'm talking about, but
I must say I didn't see any of that. So,
heaps of it. But yeah, and there was a little bit of there was a shout out to the monkey paw of that's why Charlie Cameron got injured, was because everyone was sort of crying about the Levi stuff. So, pick your poison. But it was good to see Levi play a whole game. The Charlie Cameron stuff was obviously not good, and Kyle Lohmann, it looked a bit eerily similar to his first game I think he played probably about 3 seasons ago, where he did a syndesmosis or something along those lines. Hopefully not quite that bad. Looks like a bit of a high ankle sprain, so we'll keep a watch on that. And then bowling pins Bailey into Logan Morris in the first quarter, so that one didn't look good, but hopefully just a busted lip and a hard head. But he did, they were talking some garbage on commentary as they were about him not being the player that everyone remembers from last year. It's he's a second-year player who's played 20 games. Give him a break. So
yeah, and he's copped basically almost a broken jaw in the first quarter as well. Yeah, like I said, I thought it was that first quarter especially was very rusty, and Sydney were all over us, and rightly so as well. They just couldn't finish some of their work as well. I think luckily they kicked a couple of absolute mungs, including your old mate Joel Amati, who he was singing his praises last week.
So it works both ways. So if I sing someone's praise, they do poorly, and if I say because James Jordan was so bad against
he had a great game on the weekend.
He was awful, and he was really good. He was
amazing.
Also, he's got a weird face. His face is dead straight with a little nose. It's he's one of those Mr. Square. Those little books.
Yeah, little Mr. Men books.
He's like Mr. Rectangle.
Sure.
Just keep an eye on that for next time.
Righto.
Or don't. Doesn't matter. But yeah, so I've got to keep my mouth shut when I'm talking about other players, because it sort of tends to be the case.
Yeah, work them into form.
We did have equal number of shots. I know they probably skewed a couple, but yeah, it just looked a little bit rusty and a little bit.
We were pretty wasteful as well across the day, but yeah, especially first off, Cam Rayner was, I thought, clearly our best on in the first quarter, and just could not finish his work. Took a couple of shots on his left. I think he had a set shot as well, and just couldn't hit any of them. Bailey missed a shot early on as well. You thought, okay, it's going to be one of those days for us. But in the end, it all sort of worked out.
Yeah, a couple of 50-metre penalties. The umpiring is probably something. There were 60 free kicks in the game, and
it was
3 or 4 50-metre penalties. I think it was a bit of an over-umpired game.
I thought they were fairly kind to us, to be honest. I thought we got the rub of the green across the day. I thought we got some 50-50 decisions that went our way.
Yes, but at the same time, I thought they were calling us to play on quite quickly. when we weren't moving off the line, and Sydney were kind of given license to sort of take about 3 steps inboard before they were being called to play on. So whether that was just circumstantial with whichever zoned umpire was kind of keeping an eye on that, but I felt like that. I mean, it was epitomized when Big O got a free kick out of the ruck. We had kicked a goal out of it. It might have been, but he literally lined up down the center of the field and got called to play on immediately. And it's like he's just taking his kick. Yeah. Like he's, can you not call him to play on? And then the guy rushes. But whatever. Just over umpired, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I do like the crackdown on the not 15s. Like, I'm a big fan of that generally across the competition. I know it's probably, considering our game style and basically how we chip kicked our way to a premiership, probably not going to work in our favour, but generally speaking, I do like the crackdown on it.
I have 2 questions about that. So if the first thing was saying, will it disproportionately affect our uncontested mark kick numbers because you lose a handful or 10 marks in a game? And then also the one, if a mark is deemed to be not 15 meters, does the chop of the arm in a marking contest still work? Is it still a free kick if it's not a marking contest?
Yeah, I can't say I took enough notice of that.
Because so when Isaac Heaney lined up for his goal late on, they didn't call it wasn't 15 meters, but it looked like a short kick to him, and he got a chop of the arm free kick from Froggy. And it got me thinking, it's a little bit of a teething, kind of like a rules a rules knock-on effect of going, well, if you're going to clamp down on the 15-meter kicks, does it mean if someone gets their arms chopped and it's not 15 meters, will it be a free kick for chopping the arm? Because that's something that needs to be kind of sorted out and made clear of what the go is.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't seemed to happen, or maybe it has. I don't know. But that was a question I had to you. What do you think?
Well, I guess it's definitely one to keep an eye on, and very much, I don't know, whether that will remain consistent throughout the year as well, that, the crackdown on the short kicks, because we saw, a couple of years ago, they were right on dissent. Dissent was the hot rule for, the start of the season. They were giving away ridiculous 50-meter penalties. Harris got one for having his arms out. We all remember that. That seems to have disappeared. People are back arguing with umpires and all that sort of stuff. So
John Newcomb loves it, mate.
I'll be interested to see if that will remain consistent throughout the year, or if it'll just be a hot start for the first 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds or whatever, and then it will just quickly, balance itself out again. I'm not too sure.
Well, I did think in the Hawthorn-Essendon game on Friday night that they were much more lax on it there. There weren't too many that were played on. I mean, there probably were some, but to me it seemed like there was a lot more license with that. There's also some weird ones, like kicking from out on the... when a ball's been kicked out on the full past the goal, and they kick it in 30 metres and they kick the same play on. Weird. So it's definitely an overcompensation. But, Sydney definitely in the first half were looking pretty dangerous. They were scoring quite often when going inside 50. We looked a little bit defensively vulnerable, and I think it was just a lack of structure.
Yeah.
All things kind of considered. We looked a bit haphazard, definitely going forward. And
that's something we're going to have to work on, isn't it? Our entries inside 50, they're just the long kicks bombing it in. Now Sydney's obviously tightened up on that uncontested possession game. They were pretty open about that. It was very obvious for them last week. It did leave holes going through the centre of the field, which I think we finally sort of figured out in the back half of the game. But we couldn't really get our game going as we know it in the first half, and it did lead to some pretty poor entries inside 50 and some long kicks that didn't yield any good results, and Sydney were able to get it back fairly easily. And Corey Warner was just alone a lot. And I think Jared Berry was sort of responsible for him, because he was sort of playing wing half back and was quite often, I saw him next to him at times, but he just found himself in a mountain of space, especially early on, and kicked 3 first half goals.
3, 2? I thought he missed one.
Maybe. I can't remember if he was 3 going for 4 or 2 going for 3, but either way.
I remember them saying that he'd only kicked 2 goals in AFL and he was going for his third. So maybe it was was too. I definitely found, so interestingly you say that like the inside 50 kicking was not so good because our efficiency inside 50 was actually quite good considering we had 26 scoring shots from 52. So going at 50% is not bad, but some of them just looked optically horrible.
Yes.
And I think you've got to put that down to, as much as anything, a structural thing. Playing two rucks when we're not necessarily supposed to. I thought Fort was pretty good. His link-up play was like surprisingly impressive. Some of the stuff he did, particularly later on in the game, where you're like, he's strafing up the wing and you're like, what's he doing there? And then he like leathered one out to Hipwood in the pocket. And, one of the moments of the day was definitely when I think one of the little fellas for Sydney was like running up the wing and it was McInerney and Fort that were both trying to put pressure on. And you're just like, what's going on here? Like center wing and your two ruckmen are kind of just like witches' hats, but it looked funny to me. But Corey Warner 2-2, although they're both C Warners, so one of them kicked 2 goals, one of them kicked 2-2. So I think Corey Warner kicked 2-2.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So yeah, all in all, Dane Ramby played that game again. I still barely saw him.
He definitely had some moments. They brought Hamling in, which I think was better for their team balance, as we spoke about last week with Tom McCartan going forward, and I think it really helped give Lewis Melican a chop out for those guys. So I think they obviously looked better this week than they did last week without still looking all that fantastic, and we certainly were nowhere near our best, I don't think. So only upwards from there. Before we get into the votes, there is a couple of players I do want to talk about that I thought had good games. Oscar being one of those. I thought he had a great game against Brody, who looked better than he did last week. But I thought Oscar had a great game, and obviously his work up forward was very helpful. Wilmot is going to be very unlucky to miss out on a vote from me, but I'm hoping you might pick up the slack there. He had a great game, especially the second half. I thought he was fantastic.
He was, and I suppose it's like it would be very pedantic to kind of put some efforts that he had under the spotlight that directly costed goals. But I mean, I'm not going to do it while saying that because there were some not great efforts, but his work ethic going forward is really good. Yeah. And I think it's a first game. You can't really judge a lot of stuff. Like I'm sure people are going to come out and sort of say that like Eric wasn't particularly good, but is what it is. I think you got to look at the players that played well. So, yes, Wilmot definitely very good. Obviously, Dunkley was really good.
Yeah, well, I mean, he'll be in my votes. Spoiler alert. I thought McCluggage was really good as well, especially early on. And in a day where, obviously Neil had little to no impact. Like, we've seen him have quiet games before when he's been tagged out, but he still managed, double-digit figures, at least high teens, but to be held to 6 disposals and 3 and a bit quarters of footy is just next level.
We didn't see him go to the goal square though.
No, that was a bit strange, but I thought both Ashcroft spent a bit more time forward, and obviously at the back half of the game, Connor McKenna and Dane Zorko were sort of moved basically permanently up forward, which was a bit strange. But I thought Hugh was really good in amongst the day. Berry had a bit of a mixed bag. Like Bez had some really great moments, and I really do like the fact, that he goes back and helps out. He did have.
But far out, he was getting some kicks smothered. I tell you what.
Yeah.
It seemed like every kick was getting smothered for a time, but it's all right. He's fine.
And Jasper Fletcher, I thought had a fucking amazing game. He was really, really good.
Yeah, he was definitely unassuming, but he looked very agile. It seemed to be that, like, in the third and fourth quarter particularly, like, the players that seemed to be strangely, like, better conditioned were just, like, off the charts. So, throw Dunkley. I thought Zorko was really good.
Yep.
I don't know how that guy's, like, 36 years old. And, like, Levi was really good. For a guy that wasn't expecting to play, he didn't look like he was struggling physically with the game. So,
no.
A testament to that young fellow, I say. But who have you got in the votes?
Do you want to get into votes?
Oh, well, have you got anything else? Like, Harris was not great, but
no, it wasn't his best game. Jack Payne had some moments that were good and some that were not so good. Noz the same. Froggy was Froggy was consistent. He had I guess one blue with the giving away a couple of free kicks, but he was fine. Okay, votes. Thanks to Hop on Brewery Tours. Dunkley gets my 3 easily. Leading possession getter, leading meters gained for us, and 10 tackles to go with 6 clearances. Just a complete game from Dunks, and did a fairly good job at keeping Isaac Heaney quiet enough. Zorks gets my 2 and Bailey gets my 1, and I probably could have flipped them. I thought it was one of Bales' best games in a while, and the goals that he kicked were at crucial times as well. In that second quarter is when he kicked a couple. I thought it was one of his better games for sure. And Zorko, I could have tossed up between Zorko and Modi for that other vote, but Zorko hitting 2 goals himself sort of gets in the 2 votes for me.
It was cheated out of a third too by a lovely inside-out sidewinder by Morris. I'm going to flip the 2. Dunkley 3, Bailey the 2. Just because I think he almost was keeping us in the game when we had no right to really be in it. And Zorko just, I keep waiting for him to sort of fall off a little bit, and it's just not happening because he looks like one of the fittest blokes out there, and just kind of lasered one in from outside 50. So, fair play to him. Yeah. And also he showed that he can still, if Kadeen Coleman comes back and takes his spot, he's still an asset going forward. So, he lined up on a wing, Rayner lined up on a wing at times. There was a lot of weird stuff going around. Shades a little bit of that Gold Coast game last year, yes. Whilst not quite as under siege, but there were just elements of digging in and showing the grit. So, very impressive. As I said, I think it'll go down as a sneaky, really good win that no one will remember.
Yep.
And come the end of the season, if we're sitting there and it's, we're 1 game inside the top 2 or 1 game inside the top 4, this is it. This is the game.
100%. And, we've got Geelong in a couple of weeks' time. West Coast, I mean, it's hard to really go off one round of footy, who's going to be up there and who's not. A couple of teams have had 2 games under the belt now, but West Coast at home should ideally, got the flag unfurling, should ideally be an easier task, a bit more match hardened as well, but we're obviously going to have to make some changes for that. Kai Lohman, at this stage, we don't know. It's a Sunday night for us, but you'd have to imagine that's at least 5-6 weeks if it is a syndesmosis. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's not that bad.
I don't think it's a syndesmosis because syndesmosis is in the foot. I think this was a higher ankle sprain. So I thought
a syndesmosis was the high ankle sprain.
I thought it was at the top of the foot, but no, maybe I'm completely wrong.
That's I think
that's a Liz Frank.
That's a Liz Frank. Yeah, I think a syndesmosis is a high ankle. So
do some Googling for us, Brooksy. I can't get to my keyboard because I have to put this box in the way so that the microphone doesn't buzz. So you figure that one out, and I'll.
A syndesmosis, often called a high ankle sprain. So.
Right. Okay. Well. Screw me then, I guess.
So I'm thinking that's at least a 5-6 weeker. They can be longer. They can be 10 weeks. So you'd have to hope.
Well, I'm going to go optimistic and go 2 weeks.
Okay.
If not one.
Fingers crossed. With changes for this one, Charlie for Kai seems relatively straightforward. Sam Day maybe for Fort. Maybe that takes another week and another 2. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know what's going on in Sam Day's life at the moment, but I think Fort is pretty serviceable in the meantime. And obviously the big one, Brandon Starcevich, is going to be out. I'm just going to say at this stage, TBC indefinitely. Because 3 concussions in 11 or 12 games is not good. And that one on the weekend, that was the lightest knock of them all, in my opinion. I thought the one that hit Logan Morris, that was heavier for me. Looking at it on the TV,
Yeah, sometimes it's not about how hard it is, but where it is. And it looked like he got hit right in the temple.
Yeah.
And, there's a little bit of, a little bit of sympathy to McInerney from the Swans, who got 3 matches.
Yeah, that's a bit much, I would have thought.
Yeah, because the MRO really needs to sort out the distinction between something that is 0 weeks because the impact is low and something that is 3 weeks because the impact is severe. We've been saying it for, it's the same thing every year, because on the whole, the impact on Starcevich's head was low or medium at best, not severe. Like, it shouldn't be because someone gets concussed, shouldn't mean that they are, immediately goes into that, because not all heads are made equal. And I know that that's kind of like a bit of a law sort of thing with the old eggshell skull type thing. But like, yeah, it's a contact game. Even the Archers kid from North Melbourne. Yeah. Like, it's, could they have done things better? Yes, but it's an accident, and arguably people could say that was contact below the knees with a head, which I don't agree with, because I find that people who go for the ball and someone tries to run over them, I think is stupid. But I don't know, Starcevich is a weird one because, I understand it's 3 concussions in 11 games, but there was a whole off-season in that, and it's sort of more so 2 in a few weeks. To me, it's a bit more like the Liberatore one from last year, where he kind of had a couple in quick succession, and there was a lot spoken about him, and he took a couple weeks off, came back and played, and no one even talks about it now. I know we've had different players over the years that have had retirements from concussion.
Yeah, we've had a few. We've had
certain Rhodes Scholars, certain bearded mountain men, and certain Jonathan Browns. So there's been a few, and I don't think we should be, let's say, like frivolous in the way we treat it, but also I don't think we should be overly cautious if it's, I think it's kind of an element. My understanding is that the concussions that happen in game is a problem, but it's the recovery and the going straight back to training and going straight back into the contact stuff the day after, which is where the actual kind of larger problems therein lie. Yeah. And if he's happy to fulfill the medical side of it, and the team and the medical staff are happy with it, then he should be back playing football when he can. But yeah, didn't look good, did it?
No, it didn't look good, and it's obviously very concerning. And I don't know if he seems more susceptible to them now than say a year ago at this stage. Obviously, I've had people on social say he needs 3 months off minimum. Other people saying a month. I mean, I'm not going to profess to know anything about, brains or concussion or anything like that. It might be a case of, well, if he's good, he's good. Like, he might clear the protocols after the mandatory 12 days and be, tick all the boxes as if he were fine and come straight back in. But I dare say they will be taking a precautionary approach with Brandon Starcevich, and we should, because he's one of our best and one of my favourites. Not that that's going to come into their thinking when they do or do not select him to play footy again, but it is a bit. It's definitely concerning. Like, obviously we had, as you said, Justin Clark, Jack Frost, Goose Maguire, and obviously Brownie all lost to concussions.
Marcus
Adams. There's been plenty along the way for us, and I would fucking hate to see Brandon Starcevich, who is basically in the peak of his career, be lost to it.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I can't. I definitely know that, like, as someone that's had concussions playing sport, I'm definitely very aware and very careful with how I treat myself on sporting field. It doesn't mean that I always make the best decisions, but I'm trying to. So it can be hard. And I don't think it's an element of, like, for me personally, it's not that I need to be, like, protected from myself. It's more just, knowing the risks and impulse decisions and things like that. So, but he looks pretty shattered. Yeah. He looked frustrated more than anything.
Yeah, I think once he went down and came to, he did look pretty upset and frustrated by the situation, because he's probably thinking to himself, fuck, not again. Like, I literally just got over this one, a cyclone intervened and made sure I didn't miss a game of footy, but here I am again in the same situation. So it would be weighing on his mind, and I don't know if he's got a partner or a wife, or if he wants to start a family or anything. That's all stuff he's got to consider down the line, because we know the effects of CTE, and 50 years from now, who knows what these are all going to add up to. So fingers crossed fingers crossed it is just simply a case of bad luck and that he will be right to go in a couple of weeks. But I think, the club and he need to decide what's going to be best for him long term.
Yep. Yeah, but I definitely think it's probably more in an unlucky spot with the point of the shoulder into the temple rather than the Paddy McCartan one or even the Liberatore one from last year. So it remains to be seen. Let's have a little chat about a positive little blonde-haired wiener that came on the field. Levi Ashcroft, what do you think?
Yeah. I don't think he didn't do anything where I thought to myself, oh, wow, this kid's going to be a star. Not in the way that, like, say, Sam Lawler had some really, big moments on Thursday night, big pack marks drifting across the wing, obviously kicked 2 goals, made some really smart decisions with his hands. I don't think I saw anything from Levi Ashcroft where I thought, oh, wow. But 25 touches in a game against, grand final rematch for your first day is certainly not a bad day out. It's certainly not a bad day out.
So, firstly, I like Laylaw or Lawler.
Everyone's saying Lawler. That's what I'm rolling with.
I know. Well, he said that too. But do we call my name Pittrack because the 2 vowels are mixed up? You've literally the O and the A. So I definitely thought he was Laylaw, but Lawler, whatever. Do you think he will be unlucky to potentially miss out on the Rising Star nomination, given that at the time it looked like that fella from Fremantle was about to kick 4 goals in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, I think, go on.
I think it's a layup for the AFL to just go, give it to Lawler, because
they won.
Well, yeah, and who knows if they'll get another chance. He'll get a nomination at some point. You might as well just get it out of the way round 1 where he has played an integral part into a historic win for that club. So easy. Murphy Reid will get his shot as well, as will Levi. Levi will have a game where he just blows it open. But it was... And he didn't have a bad game. He had a great game. It's fine.
No, I think that it's because he's next to other people on the team that are equally as skilled as him, that are premiership players, it makes him look normal.
Yeah, well, that's it. And he just sort of fits in.
Some of his quick hands and stuff, you're just far out, this is amazing. But then you're it doesn't look any different to Will, doesn't look any different to Lockie or McCluggage. And you're sitting there going, holy shit, man. Yeah. Those guys are... Well, I mean, I know Ashcroft's not a 100-game player yet, but he's a Norm Smith medalist, and you got the other 2 that are, multiple game players. So, to me, whenever he got the ball, I didn't feel not confident. I was like, oh, cool, he's got the ball. This is good. It wasn't, and given some of the players we've had over the, not so much the last 6 years, but prior to that, you're sitting there going, uh-oh, Nick Robertson's got the ball. What's going to happen here? Uh-oh, Marco Paparone's got the ball.
Yeah.
Where's this going to go? Sam Mays might as well just kick it into the goal hole. So didn't get any of that from a first game player.
You're right. So. You didn't get any sort of mistakes where you go, oh, that's all right, he's a first gamer. I didn't think that at all. Like you said, he just sort of fit in a midfield that was humming. So it's good and lucky for him that he gets to slot into a midfield where he's got a dual Brownlow medalist, premiership midfielders, and genuine A-grade talent around him to ingratiate him into the AFL. And he's not going to have to wear a hard tag or anything just yet when there's players above him to take that role. So I thought it was really good.
Good luck to Jason Jordan later on in the season is all I'm going to say. Or anyone that's a designated tagger when you've only got 1. Who are you going to go for? And this has kind of been the thing. I'm sure we'll get questions about Lockie Neal's output and what we should do to try and break the tag. But maybe we haven't got any questions and our listeners are just okay.
Nah,
they know it's on.
Yeah. Let's have a quick chat about the 2s before we do get into questions, and it will involve, I guess, we've got a few questions about Starcevich, and we'll finalise our team for next week against West Coast. Not much to go on with the 2s. I didn't get to Brighton Homes Arena, if anyone did. It was a practice match against the Suns where the 2s won by 5 or 6 goals. And it turns out that Jimmy Tunstall was probably best on. Sam Marshall had a great game. Interestingly, though, Dev playing off the half back. So that's that's a bit of a strange one. And apparently the wording here is Dev Rob lined up on the halfback to start the game and did not look out of place with his ball use or highlight, which has often been his, I guess, his Achilles heel, his ball use. So that's obviously something he's working on. And, you know, as the VFL season starts and continues, I wonder if he'll play a bit more time there. And looks like Jimmy Tunstall's really stepped up in that midfield.
That's it's a good surprise, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it could be an element maybe of like the team's a bit light just because we've had... Also, hold on, we forgot to talk about Ling McCarthy as well. Isn't that the shittest news possible?
It is really shit. It's really shit. I hate it. And unfortunately, that could be it for him.
Yeah, like I saw the thing on my phone and it was like Lions, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't see who the picture was, but I knew that it would be either Link or...
Duday.
Because it was like a Caucasian individual and it was a repeat thing. And I was like, well, this is good, isn't it? Like, cool.
It sucks. He's such a good bloke too, Link. And for him to do the same knee, like right on the cusp of coming back into the fold, like probably would have played in that VFL scratchy. I would have thought. I don't think he was ready for AFL selection going on the form in that practice match. But it turns out he did it in that practice match and didn't realise for like 5-6 days or whatever. Suddenly his knee blew up and then he went for a scan and yep, he's done it again.
Yep. Not good.
Not good because he probably, well, I mean, with Charlie coming back, he probably would have been in line to take Kai Loman's spot as well.
Yeah, I think he possibly could have ended up as a sub or something like that, but you never know. But yeah, that sucked. Also, just in terms of like, what did I say 2 weeks ago? Like the wish I had for the season was not to see like graphic looking images, and we had like
there you go,
3 in the first game. Like, although not super graphic, but you know, no one likes seeing legs get twisted and stuff and head clashes and then big bold Starcevich going down. Like, not too good. Anyway, sorry, we were talking about the twos. I got sidetracked because I just remembered that and realised we hadn't spoken about it. So,
well, Will McLaughlin kicked 4 goals. Brendan Ryan kicked a couple. Henry Smith was serviceable. But yeah, not much. There's not much to go on with that. So once that VFL season actually does start, we'll have a bit more data to go from. But yeah,
awesome stuff.
All right, do you want to get into some questions? And
only if they're good.
Okay, well, they'll be what they are. And it's all thanks to Crisp Communications, crispcoms.co. If you need marketing for your business, Abby and the team will bloody sort you right out. All right, Cooper has come through on our SpeakPipe. We love it when people send us a voice note through SpeakPipe. Spoiler alert, there's no question in here. It's just a little bit of joy for your Sunday night.
G'day, boys. How you doing? Just want to say, Josh Dunkley is the father of Sydney, and the Ashcroft brothers are going to own the league for the next 15 plus years. And we're going back to back. Can confirm.
We're going back to back. Can confirm, says Cooper. So he's up and about.
I like it.
Yep.
I like it.
All right. From
Dunkley definitely does own Sydney, doesn't he?
Do you reckon he carries a little bit of a chip on his shoulder for not being selected father-son back in 2015 or whatever?
Possibly, but I feel like he just plays the way that he plays all the time anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not like he specifically rises against Sydney, but he's just a good fella. Like,
certainly is.
Yeah.
Mr. I on Twitter, what would be your thoughts on the replacement strategy for Stars, both short-term and long-term? We were all worried about our best 23 all off-season. Now it's a if you're fit, you play. So I'm hoping we don't have to think about replacing Stars long-term, whether that means he does, in fact, his career does come to an untimely end because of concussion, or he decides he doesn't want to sign on at the Lions and decides he wants to go back home to West Australia. But he would be he's tough to replace. We were stressing about it when he was unlikely for opening round because of concussion. We thought, well, what are we going to do against Brian Myers and Brad Close and Tyson Stengel and all that sort of stuff? Now we're coming up against West Coast. Their small forwards probably aren't as elite. Jamie Cripps is always there. They got Matt Owies in that lineup now. Everyone's favourite. Short term, long term, I think McKenna, who played forward on the weekend, probably just goes back, and we're going to have to rely a little bit more on Noah Answorth to step up, and Froggy's probably the other one. Those two.
Yeah, I think probably if we can navigate the first part of the season, let's say worst case scenario, touch wood, that Starcevich doesn't play again. If we can hobble through the first half of the season and Tom Duday comes back into the team, you could see Froggy play as the Starcevich role, because Froggy can play tall and can play small.
Yeah.
It could also be the sort of thing, I know he's not quite back yet as well, another ACL. You could have Gardner go back and then also have Froggy kind of do that. But then you're also dealing with a guy that's 32, that's coming to the end of their career anyway. So longer term solutions have to be kind of made. And whether that's Brain kind of coming in and just giving him a chance, I would say probably under a slightly more consistent back line this time, because a lot of the games he got towards the end of the last season, there was a lot of pain out. There was Darragh Joyce. There was all sorts of stuff going on. Yeah. So I think he probably paid a heavy price for that Beau McCreary bullshit against Collingwood in the back end of last year. So for the meantime, I think probably I'd go McKenna.
Yeah.
We're playing West Coast. We might as well just try and all out attack, have some fun. Well, let our one-on-one guys.
If tonight's performance is anything to go by, they didn't see much of it in their forward line, to be honest. Anyway,
I can't believe I tipped West Coast. Hey.
Yeah, well, I said it at the time, but you had your thoughts. Obviously, Kitty Coleman is another name that will be coming back in the next 5 to 10 weeks at some point. Probably make his way back through the twos, I would say, just to get some fucking football into him, because he's been a long time gone.
Yep.
All right, Jenny, it was a really hot day in Sydney. She was there sitting in the sun until the last quarter. Do you think this will affect next week's game, especially with the injuries we have? Finishes by saying what a gutsy win it was. I'd like to think that we're used to the heat, especially toiling away pre-season, between December and February in humidity and sun. So I'd like to think it's not going to have that much of effect, but we did see a fair amount of cramping, didn't we, across the whole league?
Yeah, it was interesting with the teams that it was their first game. Obviously, the second gamers, it was a bit less. Perth was still pretty bloody hot today. Just checking the weather here. I know it's a dry heat, but they were still 29. I think when you're looking at it in terms of they're having to make the 700-hour flight from Perth to Brisbane, having played a day later, I don't think we could really get anything like that as a negative. We have to just be treating it no excuses.
Yep.
Might be a little bit, straight up and down, but yeah, we just need to do that. So,
Giuseppe, same thing with Stars. Who do you want to come in for Stars, and who do you think will come in for Stars? I think we sort of just covered that there. Ross, have the Lions become the most resilient team in the league? And secondary question, are the Hawks overrated, or is it all media hype? He's yet to work out exactly what Hawkball is. Going off the first 2 weeks, Hawthorn do look good. I'm not going to say they're the real deal, but they do look good. They've beaten 2 decent opponents, and we won't really know how good those wins look for a few weeks, and where Sydney and Essendon sit in a couple of weeks' time. But so far, they look good.
Yeah, Hawthorn they're fine. They're just not very likable, are they?
No.
It was interesting. So, my partner's always prone to the old zinger, and she said, I said that we'd watched Full Sweat the other week.
Yeah.
And Sam Mitchell's talking about the Hawthorn way, and when you sort of say the Hawthorn way to you, what are your sort of thoughts on that? What would that mean, Hawthorn style?
I don't particularly know when it comes to game plan or game style. I know I I'm not going to say he's revolutionized that back six.
No, but I mean, not so much what Sam Mitchell's done, but if
Yeah.
you're talking about like quintessential Hawthorn style football, what does that mean to you?
I don't know. Fun, I guess.
Yeah, see, they think it's tough and hard and like brutal, and I think that they're giving a lot of credit to certain individuals that have played for Hawthorn over the years rather than the collective.
Yeah.
Because you think of like hard, tough. You know, there are obviously their premiership years and stuff, but you're looking at it and you're going, well, Dermott, Dipper Domenico, Hodge, Lee Matthews.
Sam Mitchell is probably one of them.
Yeah, but he's more of a prickle rather than a brutal, you know. So it's like they've built this kind of cultural thing on the back of like some big name players, whilst, I mean, their forward line are full of floppers and duckers.
Yeah.
So I find it a little bit tongue in cheek to kind of hear that, and I don't know, maybe it's just the cynic in me, but you know, stop ducking and winning head-high free kicks. It was good to see Watson get absolutely towelled up a few times on the weekend again, even though he kicked some goals, but whatever. Hockball, what? I'm too old for this.
Yeah, it's not my bag, but good on them. And if they're winning games of footy, I guess they're not going to give a shit. Paddle 22, already over Levi and Will doing handball 1-2s. Can't believe I have to watch it for the next 15 years. That is their game, isn't it? And it's very much modelled off Gary Ablett Jr., who absolutely mastered that art, 10, 15 years ago, the 1-2 to put someone else in better space, but then in the long run put you into better space as well. It is, there's a little bit of stat padding, and you can do it just for the sake of doing it, but when done right, it's very effective. The Dacos boys do it as well. And I think you'll find more and more kids coming through will be doing that.
What do you think of Damien Barrett calling Nick Dacos the best kick in the competition this week?
I didn't hear that.
He had it in his sliding doors. He said if Nick Dacos is the best kick in the competition, Houston has to be number 2. Now, I know Collingwood won by 1 million.
That's obviously hyperbole.
Because I think Josh is a better kick than Nick, but that's just me.
I mean, you give me enough time, I could probably rattle off 20 to 25 better kickers than Nick Dacos. He's a very good kick.
Well, Sicily, Kadeen Coleman, even with an ACL.
I mean, Zorko, I would say, is a better kick. Jordan Dawson is a better kick. Caleb Daniels is a better kick. Tex
Goulden.
Walker, yeah.
Sheldrick, who didn't get a game, better kick.
Brayden Campbell was a great kick.
Braden Maynard, not a bad kick.
Yeah. Anyway, look, whatever. Sure, it's an interesting call from him. The 1-2s for the Ashcroft boys. I think you're going to have to get used to seeing it, unfortunately. And it will have its moments where you're going, "What are you doing?" And if you're a super coach or a fantasy football player, you'll probably fucking love it. And there will be times where it actually works well for us.
Do you reckon Will kind of toned down the amount of like sun-in bleach in his hair this year because he wanted to be like just a little bit darker haired, just to let his brother come in as the big blondie?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
He's got a little bit of facial hair going as well.
Yeah, the old Mo. Pretty interesting.
All right, Corey. After your thoughts on how many more concussions do you think Stars can suffer before he pulls the pin? 3 in 11 games is a massive concern. Footy just isn't worth it. Yeah, like I said, we have touched on this, Corey, and it is a concern, definitely. I would say if he gets another 1 or 2 this year, it is a serious consideration. I mean, I'm sure it's a serious consideration as it is, and I'm sure he's having those conversations with his loved ones and with the club. But if he does...
I think the interesting and the unfortunate situation he's in is he's on a 1-year contract. So if he was to get medically retired, he doesn't get paid out for his contract.
Yeah.
So he's in a little bit of not a great position right now. I was listening to SEN this morning, and they were saying that it might be the sort of thing that might potentially scare off suitors to try and sign him up for next year.
Yeah, it would be a consideration for sure.
So, I mean, I think I mean, this is very, very off the cuff, but I think probably the best thing he could do would be to sign a long-term deal with the Lions for his insurance.
Yeah.
For himself.
Yeah, but then even us, we might not be willing to offer him a 5 or 6. It might go down to a 3-year or maybe even 2.
Well, it could be. I know Chris Fagan was talking about medical payouts and particularly concussion payouts last year, saying that they shouldn't come out of the soft cap or the salary cap. They should be over and above if someone's been medically retired. And this could be a starting case for that, or a principal case. I know there are others, Murphy last year and whatever, but
it's going to look dodgy though if we offer him a 7-year deal, he signs, and then 2 months later goes, oh, actually I can't play anymore.
Yeah, but compared to some other stuff, probably not.
All right, now last one from Ben, and I got to say this is an interesting question. How long until Levi usurps Hugh McCluggage into the starting lineup?
Starting lineup?
Yeah. So
McCluggage just drops.
Yeah.
Just get out. You're done, Clugs.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he means the starting midfield or he's written starting lineup.
I think he means at centre bounce.
He must. He have to.
I don't think that it's a one or the other. I think you're looking at him taking Neil's place eventually. You know, like it might not be this year. He might just play half forward and roll through. You know, maybe. I don't know.
Imagine that. Hugh McCluggage playing twos.
McCluggage just like, get out of the team. You're done, buddy. Like, Levi's in the house. You're not needed. That long-term deal you signed last year, you get rid of it. Go to Tasmania. Captain him. Don't clip that, anybody. He's my favourite player.
No, they will work in tandem, I would have thought, and it'll just be part of the midfield rotation. That starting midfield rotation is Dunks, Neil, and one of Hugh or Will at this stage. Like, those are your starting, and then you have the others rolling through, including Berry, including Bales, including Rayner, and both Ashcrofts, and so I don't.
Droggy, apparently. No.
Yeah, why not?
Do you remember when Ryan Lester had it would have been like 2017, but it was like the player that's never lost a centre bounce. Yeah. And it was like Ryan Lester.
Yeah, 3.
Because he'd been in 3 and they won clearance at all. Yeah.
It's good.
It's like, what a stat to have. What a stat to have.
All right, well, those are our questions. Feel free to shoot us any at any time. Get in touch via our socials. Shoot us an email, blfancast@gmail.com. Go to the website. Send us a voice note. There's plenty of ways to get involved. And don't forget to like and subscribe and follow and all that sort of shit, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Always welcome conversation and discourse and a little bit of chat about the Lions when we can. Let's have a look at tipping.
No, let's not look at tipping.
No. You wanted this. And this is
so
what
I have to make a. I changed one of my tips. Not to my benefit.
No, and
because I had tipped the Western Bulldogs. I had tipped the Western Bulldogs, and I changed that to North Melbourne. And I think I went a couple of weeks early on North Melbourne because they did look pretty good, but they look pretty bloody raw. So.
I mean, if they were going to win a round one match, it was going to be that one with the Bulldogs missing fucking everyone.
Yep, but they didn't.
Right, so I got 7 this week. I missed out on Richmond, obviously, and I tipped Port Adelaide. I didn't, and I certainly did not see that coming.
No, Collingwood, they're back. The aged superstars have turned it round.
That was crazy.
And how? Yeah, look, I did horribly. I think I got, 4 or something like that?
Sure. I did question you last week when you said Melbourne and West Coast. And to be fair, that Melbourne one was down to the wire. But the West...
I got done by a couple of 50-50s, really.
Well, the Gold Coast, West Coast, if you look at it, it was not a 50-50.
That's not the one that I got done by that was 50. I'm talking about the Bulldogs and the Melbourne one, because I mean that North Melbourne game could really have gone either way. North looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Jack Darling looks pretty good. They just a little bit of polish. I'm not trying to justify tipping them, but I did. And yeah, big Keith with the goal to win the game with about a minute to go for the Giants. About 4 people in attendance at that game.
Yep.
So
it was pissing down for periods of it as well.
Yeah, also the Grand Prix was on, I guess. So just better things to do for Melbourne fans, I guess.
Suppose so.
Yep, so it's a long season. It's a long season, is all I'll say. Now, I have to do my round 2 tippings, don't I?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Oh, Evil Tree. What do we got here? Hawthorn by 70? No, Hawthorn by 22.
All right, Collingwood Bulldogs. It's a tough one.
Do you reckon the Bulldogs getting anyone back?
They might get 1 or 2, but no, there's still no Bond. I would dare say Jamara's gone for a while. I don't know what Waitman's like.
Essendon or Adelaide at the MCG. Now, I thought Essendon were pretty horrible and somehow were still there or thereabouts for large portions on Friday night.
Had some good moments. Adelaide looked pretty good.
Got to go with Adelaide. Got to go with Port Adelaide. Got to go with Geelong. Lions. I really want to tip North Melbourne again.
I wouldn't.
Because do you remember when North Melbourne had this weird wood over Melbourne?
Yes, yeah, that was crazy.
Like just randomly, Fremantle
to beat Sydney.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I'm going North Melbourne.
Okay, that's a call of some description. Sure. All right. Well, we'll check back in next week to see how you went. Just a couple
Jack Darling to kick 7.
Jeez. Right.
He won't kick 7.
No.
He won't even get 7 kicks.
Geelong, how good do they look?
Pretty good. Brad Close wore a singlet.
Yeah.
That really wigged me out more than anything.
That was strange, wasn't it?
I mean, to be honest, so it was just before our game, and at 3/4 time, I was like, I need to go for a walk just to kind of I went on like a 4.5 kilometer walk.
Wow.
So I missed the whole last quarter and I was disappointed because I was hoping for some sort of tussle. So I missed all of their good stuff. Obviously they kicked a 10-goal to 1 quarter.
Yeah, it was silly.
So basically the last thing I saw was that kid kicking 4 goals in 5 minutes and was like, hey, this game's on, but got to get my exercise in for the day. Because it sure as hell isn't going to happen later. So, yeah, they looked good. Bailey Smith can play football.
Yep. Yes, he can.
DeConing in the ruck with Blitzar's a bit of a chop out. Dangerfield forward half ruck craft, interesting. Somehow worked a bit. And then Brian Myers kicking some bullshit goal to start the season off. So
that is Brian Myers in a nutshell, isn't it?
It all tracks.
Yep.
It all tracks perfectly. So, Jeremy Cameron showed up for the last 10 minutes. So, Geelong looked pretty good.
Suns also looked pretty good today as well, and it's not going to know how. I mean, it's an away win, which is big for them, for that club. So I'm really happy for them, and their handball game looked really good today. So how good is that win? Who knows? It's West Coast. What sort of year they're in for? If it's anything like that, geez, it's going to be another long year for West Coast fans, but you'd have to think that they will still win a couple of games this year. But yeah, those two...
Almost like a weird Richmond reunion over there.
Yeah. But Geelong probably the pick of the bunch this week.
Yeah, well, I think Geelong will be top 4. They're kind of a bit like us, just in terms of having a bit of a home ground advantage, and but then also not having to travel much as well for their other games. So it's kind of got that weird double. They get a home ground, but they don't have to travel, which is literally what I just said. So cool.
All right, there is something else that I want to try and introduce to this podcast. What are your sort of debating skills like?
Debating? Oh, we'll find out. I don't know.
So
I haven't done debating since, like, I want to say high school, grade 10 English, so 2006.
What I've done is I've put every player that has played for the Brisbane Lions 50 games or more. I did want to weed out some of the muck. So anyone that's played 50 games or more for the Brisbane Lions, not Fitzroy, not Bears, just the Brisbane Lions, I've chucked him on a wheel. I'm going to spin it. You're going to get a player. I'm going to get a player, and we have to make the case of which player is better.
I love it when I'm going to get Sam Mays and you're going to get Jonathan Brown.
I don't know that Sam Mays played 50 games for us, did he?
I think he played 99 games.
Jeez. All right, well, let's. There will be weeks like that where that does happen. It'll be like Simon Black taking on Shaney Stiller, and it'll be a bit of a lay down misere, but we're going to do what we're going to do. All right, do you want first or second?
I'll go second. I want to see what I'm up against.
All right, spinning the wheel right here. All right, I've got Froggy Lester. What are the odds of that?
I'm absolutely screwed.
No, you never know. You could pull a Michael Voss here. And as much as I love Froggy Lester, you know how much I love Froggy Lester. He's no Michael Voss. All right. So I got Froggy, and I'm taking on Anthony Corrie, Nuxie, who does actually play for the Spider Pigs, AFL 9s on a Monday night at Sherwood, and he's still pretty handy. All right, one's a premiership player.
I'm in an awful lot of trouble here.
One's a premiership player and has shown resilience across his whole career and is a cult figure and much loved by basically every supporter. He's Froggy. He's consistent. He's in the starting lineup every other week. It doesn't matter if he's the first one to get knocked out as soon as a Tom Doedee or someone else is fit for selection. He'll come back and he will do the job required, whether it's Jeremy Cameron or Paddy Dangerfield or Jack Rewalt in a qualifying final. What say you about Anthony Corrie as he rushes to find some stats?
That obvious, is it? He played in the back line, didn't he?
I thought he was a small forward.
A small forward?
Maybe a half forward. I remember he was in the grand final sprint one year.
Really?
Yeah.
It must have been 2004 because he only started playing then. It says he was a midfielder. Now, I think I'm getting him mixed up with someone else, which is bad and has poor ramifications, so let's not go there. But, look, he went to Collingwood, and that tells you all you need to know about him.
Well, to be fair, it was a hard team to crack into for Nuxie there. One of the great blokes, by the way, Anthony Corrie, and is still working with the club very, very closely, and like a genuinely great guy.
Can we like? Should we cut this and re-roll? No. This is a terrible idea.
No, this is what you get, and we'll throw it open to the people. We'll throw it open to the people. We'll chuck it up at our socials, and you can have your say, and you can make the argument for Nuxie or for Froggy. And
all right, I can tell you one person that will not be making any kind of argument for Anthony Corrie, and it is my brother, because he hated Anthony Corrie for some reason.
Oh, that's a bit rude.
Obviously, yeah. He used to call him Corey.
Sure.
Which probably tells you all you need to know about that. So, I am sorry, Anthony Corrie. I hardly knew you because I was a child.
Look, I'm happy to pencil in a win for me on that one.
I think that you've won this and probably the next 3 just on principle.
You never know. There's some names in this list. It's
going to be great when I somehow manage to accidentally re-roll into Anthony Corrie again. It'll just happen.
He's gone now. He's been stricken from the wheel. All right, you can have your say at our various social platforms. Make sure to check it out on YouTube and all your favourite podcast platforms. Thanks for tuning in. It's good to have some footy back. And we will see you Sunday. I think it's about midday, this game at the Gabba against the Eagles, if I remember correctly.
I haven't looked.
I think it's a...
Although I am looking.
There you go. 12:10 Queensland time.
I was thinking that's not what it says for me.
So we'll see you at the Gabba. Flag is being unfurled, and hopefully any wild weather can just piss off for now, please.